You're listening to Embrace Your Snake. This is a podcast for anyone who's ever been told that they can't do something, or if you've got it in your mind that you can't do it and you're afraid to do it. I'm your host, Michael Jackson, and today we're going to be talking about whether or not you should be afraid to offer your service. Today's episode is really for service-based businesses more than product-based or affiliate-based or much of the internet-based stuff that's going on. I want to talk to those service-based businesses because they're the ones who literally are putting themselves usually out there for business. That could be whether you're a photographer or an artist or a dancer or a model or pretty much any of those. I'm gonna touch on the more touchy-feely businesses. I'm a photographer, so I totally understand that realm of the service-based business model. So I may be using a lot of examples from photography. There's so many things to talk about with pricing for services, and there's all the reasonable business models out there about how to price things, and some of them are unreasonable and don't make sense, and I'm not going to really touch on those things so heavily. For example, I'm not going to really be talking about the fact that you could go out and research your market and see what everyone else is paying and look at who's the highest and who's the lowest, and then you're going to come somewhere in between. First of all, I think that's a horrible business model because that just has nothing to do with what you're worth, right? You could also go out and you could try to be the most expensive in the marketplace. Find whoever's up there and say, you know what, I'm better than that. I'm going to be the most expensive. Or you come down and you could be the lowest and say, I'm just going to undercut everybody so everyone will come rushing to me. I don't like that one either. However, I will say that business model as far as pricing has some validity because there's no reason to be the second or third lowest, because if you're going to compete on price, be the lowest, right? So if you're not going to be the lowest, you might as well be the highest. So that there's a whole philosophical thing there that we can discuss. But what I really want to talk about is, why are we having this discussion about pricing at all? And where are you in that mindset right now? And I think a lot of times I've talked to people who are worried about their pricing, and they're worried about that it'll be too expensive or too high or too low. And what I think I've come to realize is that people don't understand their own value. They don't understand what they are worth in terms of the market. They don't understand that they've spent years learning a skill, that skill is worth something to somebody, and that they can sell that. Oftentimes, we tend to think that nobody's going to pay the price that we want, where we know that people will, especially in the product business. Let's go back and look at products for a little while. Look at cars, all right? There are your low-end cars all the way up to your high-end cars. And really, in America anymore, I'm not sure what the low-end cars are. It used to be Hyundai and Kia, but that's not the case anymore. So we're just going to go with your generic low-end car. We'll call it the Yugo, which is, I think that's not even sold here anymore, but that was basically the shoebox of the car at the time. And then we can look at Mercedes. Now, both of those cars are going to get you wherever you want to go, right? The low-end car and the high-end car, they will both get you someplace. And the question is, why would somebody pay, $80,000, $90,000, over $100,000 for a car that's going to get your groceries from the grocery store to home? Any car, pretty much, if you put gas in it and it runs, will get your groceries from the grocery store to home, right? So why would you pay more for a car, maybe tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars more for a car than for something that just works? Well, because it's got air conditioning, it's got built-in GPS, it's got every satellite radio GPS thing that you could ever think of that you want in the car. It's got leather seats, or it's got, velvet crush seats, or it's got a bar in the back, or it's got, mirrors, 360-degree look around mirrors so you can look outside and see somebody behind your car, if not under your car, all sorts of things like this. Or you could just get a car to drive you home, right? So let's look at the now, that car that does all those things is worth something, right? And if the salesman says, you know what, that's a $180,000 car, that's my price. You're not really pretty much going to quibble about, is that a $180,000 car? You're going to say, I can't afford it. Let me go look at something a little less expensive. Or I can afford it. Let me write you a check and I'm taking it home. Have it ready in 2 hours. There's no quibbling about that. Now, why, when we come to service-based businesses, don't we look at ourselves that same way? Why don't we look at ourselves and say, you know what? I am the Lexus, the Mercedes, the high-end car, and people are going to pay me what I'm worth. We tend to look at our self-worth as not worth as much as a physical product. And one thing that I will say, if you want to see how much you're really worth, write down all your skills and then put a number next to each one of those things. Just write down, in my case, photography. Let me see. I know I've got all this equipment. I've got all these people I've shot with. I've got all these, I've got this knowledge from this class I've taken. I know how to do this kind of technique. Write down those things and just put numbers next to them and then add them up and say, wow, that person is worth, wow, that might be like a $300,000 person right there. So let's say I do that and I come out and all my education, all of my equipment, all of my field knowledge, all of my hard knocks comes out to $300,000 or $400,000 worth of just effort and money I put into learning this skill. Why would I go out and say, oh, I don't know if I'm worth, $20 an hour. Is it okay if maybe you pay me later or something like that? No, you don't do that, because that person, you, are worth that amount of money. And the problem that we have is we don't believe in ourselves. Again, forget all the stuff about pricing models and, the highest, the lowest, and all this. Just look at yourself, and you are worth something. You are worth a lot. You've taken time to learn your skill, your craft, and you know more than the person that's hiring you. Otherwise, they wouldn't be hiring you. And if you let that person beat you down on price, that's on you. It's on you because you haven't valued yourself enough to say, I am worth this, and that's what you're going to pay me. And I think a lot of times we as service providers will actually say, well, I think I'm worth this, but if you don't think I'm worth that much, maybe I can take a little bit less. It's because we don't value ourselves. We need to start standing up, and you've got to believe in your mind. Look in the mirror and tell yourself, I am worth $300 an hour. I am worth $400 an hour. I am worth a day rate of $2,200. Okay? Now, I'm going to put a caveat in here. When you first start out, it is very difficult to walk up to somebody and say, I'm worth $2,200 if you've got nothing to back that up. Okay, I talked about this just the other day. You do need to have some service under your belt, some testimonials, some projects that you've done. But after you've done a few of those, there is no reason that you can't say to somebody, I am now worth this because someone else has paid that. And as a matter of fact, I think I was underpaid and now I'm worth more. Okay, I want you to just start drilling into your head that you are worth a lot. You are worth more actually than what the paper is that they're going to pay you. They're going to write you a check. They're going to give you $1 bill, $100 bill. You are worth more than that because you are a creative soul in this world and you are worth infinity. Okay? Believe that in your head. Tell yourself that. Look in the mirror. Talk to that person. Make a promise to yourself. Look in the mirror and go, Michael, in my case, you are worth $500 an hour. You are worth $500 an hour. Look at yourself and believe it. And when you believe that, the next time you're in front of a client, Bill, I'm worth $500 an hour. Where do you want to send the check? Just start believing it. You have to believe that you're worth it in order to get it. Forget the pricing strategies for now. You need to, first of all, believe in yourself. That's what I want you to understand. As service providers, we often undervalue ourselves. We need to start looking at the world as open, as unlimited in terms of how much money is out there and what we are worth in